Welcome to If I Die Today. It's a podcast hosted by me, Samay Mishra. Before we begin, I want to make something really clear. This podcast is entirely independent of my professional work and my company. The views and opinions shared here by myself or by any guest are personal reflections meant to inspire, inform, and provide perspective. Nothing discussed should be taken as professional, financial, or medical advice, nor as a representative of any institution or organization that we're affiliated with. This is a space for honest conversation about life, purpose, and what truly matters, all shared in a personal capacity. Really thank you for tuning in to If I Died Today. Thank you so much. Hey everyone, this is Samay, your host for If I Died Today. I have a really special guest today. It's one that I've been really pumped for and I'm excited to have on. I have Norman Towns. I'll give you a little brief introduction and then I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit. Norman is actor, comedian, producer, model, entrepreneur, and all of the above. He's been in feature films to TV shows to doing stand-up all over the board and is now also a producer. Norm is extremely talented. I met him, fortunately, in the past 2 years, and all the conversations that I've had with him were like not only just funny, impactful, but they're also, I walked away like always leaving with something. So I thought he'd be a perfect guest to have on the podcast, and he kindly agreed. And so, Norman, I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself, give yourself a little bit of background, and kind of give everyone a little bit of context.
Okay, well, you did an amazing job. Very thankful for that. You kind of hit everything on the nail. So I'm Norman Towns. I consider myself an actor, an entrepreneur, producer, philanthropist, everything that can go with it. But super excited to be here and be a part of,
That means a lot. I think it'd be helpful just to kind of give the audience a little bit of context on who you are and what you're working on right now, and then we'll kind of go into who you are, like how you grew up, and a little bit of your background too. But is there anything that kind of you're working on right now, or that people should be aware of that you've done in the past few years that kind of are big, I guess, labels for your career and what got you into the business?
Okay, so as far as like what I'm working on right now, industry wise, is there's a few projects that I'm kind of like developing personal, which is like kind of passion projects. But other than that, like it's December, so everything's kind of slowing down, which is great. But I don't have anything like on the horizon that I'm working on.
Okay, got it. So like December, things usually kind of slow up a bit because of just holidays in general.
Yeah, and I think especially with things in the industry, um, which is why like I like doing so many other things because there's only so many things you can have control over. Like I always say this all the time, talent is wide, but opportunity is small. So
Mhm.
most of the time we get these, I guess most of the time, like you feel fulfilled when someone gives you an opportunity, and that comes few and far between, and you just want to make the most of these opportunities. But now a lot of it is like what you're doing, like creating your own thing, your own lane, you have creative outlets that you're creating yourself, which is like,
Awesome. So great. Like what I usually do with guests, and I think is really helpful for the audience just to get a better picture on who you are as an individual,
yeah.
is I like to go into your early childhood. So, like those first few memories that you have early on, like when you actually gain consciousness as a child, like what was that earliest memory for you? Like, and then kind of what characterized childhood for you? Like, what do you associate with those times?
My earliest memory was me probably being a baby and my mom like zipped me up. She zipped me up and or my sister biting me when I was like 1. I won't forget that. These are real memories that I've had. Like
Man.
I have memories of this. I remember learning how to walk and the challenges there. I remember seeing like my mom with my dad and, like, yeah. So those are like some of my earliest memories that I have today,
That's pretty
riding a
good because
bike.
I feel like
I remember everything.
that's what I'm saying. I feel like most people when I ask that, they're like, "Yeah, I came into consciousness when I was like my 6th birthday party," or like
Really?
when I
Nah,
like
mine was early. Mine was early.
okay,
I got let down throughout the years, but I remember everything early, super early. I remember everything
okay,
super early. Yeah, I'm kind
okay.
of, but it's like a Rain Man because there's certain things that I'm like very impressive, and then there's other things where I'm like, I don't know, but definitely I have multiple child memories. Yeah.
Okay.
I
And that was,
remember
like,
coming to
good,
concerts
like,
early.
when you look back on childhood, like, in teenage years, younger years, like, it was all positive?
Yeah, I didn't really get along with my mom that much, but as far as, like, with my dad, like, we always, like, got along. I always played sports. I was always, like, adventurous and doing something creative. I always had, like, a lot of good friends and role models. So, like, I think most of my childhood was spent, like, early on was, like, creating, just creating.
Okay. Okay.
And it kinda symbolizes who I am to this day.
That's interesting. And so you said that you were playing sports and you had some early on role models. Like, what do those role models look like for you? Was it just your dad? Was there like coaches in sports or other like early onset of creating that like you kind of looked up to these people or even on like popular television too or media?
Yeah. My dad. My dad was my biggest role model. And then there's other people that I thought were cool. Like I used to really like Magic Johnson, even though he was like I just love like the Lakers and Showtime and
Hmm.
I watched a lot of TV, but I think the only role model that I ever had growing up or ever like my dad, I wanted to be like everything just like my dad. Like I wanted
Hmm.
the same like I wanted the same scars as my dad, the same complexion as my dad. Like I really idolized my dad. And I remember just like looking at his fingernails, like, man, my fingernails look like that. And just like
Yeah.
hey, like I remember that vividly. So it was kind of weird for me because I know multiple people have many role models or people that they looked up to, but mine was very much like my dad, and that was it.
Yeah, and when you're, like, a kid too, like, they're almost like a superhero, right? Like, they're
Yeah.
indestructible to you, like, everything they do is really cool. Did you grow up with siblings as well or just
Yeah, I
you?
did, I did. I have an older sister and I have 2 younger brothers.
Okay, so
So,
you were kinda in the
yeah.
middle, like, weren't fully younger sibling, but you had someone older that you could, talk to and learn a little bit
Yeah.
from.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, which is
awesome.
my sister. I remember my sister, yeah, and I think at one point in time, I kinda looked up to my sister, but, my dad kinda nipped that in the butt early because like, I was like, "Dad, I wanna sleep over too." He's like, "I wanna sleep over." I was like, "I want a slumber party." I wanted, like, all the things that she wanted to do, and he was like, "I ain't gonna do that." Yeah, I was like I was
Yeah,
like, "Yeah, I want a slumber party." Like, everything she did, I was like, "Man, she has all these friends,
yeah.
they get to stay the night," and so it was yeah, I came through there, so
So I was actually reading up a little bit on your, like, bio and things that are available
mm.
online and saw that, you moved to Arizona for a bit, like you
Yeah,
weren't
yeah,
originally
middle
born
school,
there,
high
moved there
school,
for a bit,
correct.
and that was early on when you started writing your skits and, like,
Mhm,
I think
yeah.
probably find your first kinda intro into creativity, like, tell me a little bit about that, like, what was kinda your first introduction into, like, creating or doing things on your own or being involved in that space at all?
Well, I think Arizona is very interesting because I remember I would be, like, the only black kid in school or in class,
Mm,
and anytime they talked about anything as far as, like, slavery goes, they would look at me. It was just I think I think that was a very, it was an interesting time in my life because, I also felt like I couldn't express myself the way that I've seen other people express themselves, like, if a little white
mhm,
kid acts up, they get attention. If I act up, it's like, "Oh, no, I'm in trouble," or if I
yeah,
laugh at something, I'm in trouble. So I think I
right,
found a lot of, I think that's where, like, a lot of my humor came from because early on, I would just say stuff that was funny. I was always, like, really funny because I was like, "Listen, I'm the only black kid in school. I gotta be funny." I had no choice. I gotta be good at sports or funny or else it's a tough it's a it would get kinda tough. So I
right,
think I found, like, a peace and friends in being really funny,
yeah,
and I kinda got into, like, this label as, like, the class clown a little bit, but not really, because I never wanted to get in trouble, so I would always, like,
yeah,
have a lot of things, but it just put me in a weird place, so I started, like, writing sketches and, like, recording things early on, and I remember I was obsessed with Mad TV, and I would just watch tapes of, like, Mad TV, SNL, or all these, like, funny movies, and I would just kinda recreate them or have my brother so I have 2 younger brothers, but my baby brother would always, like, record stuff, and then
okay,
my brother right underneath me was more of, like, the actor. He was, like, super funny.
Yeah.
and I was like the producer. Like I always wanted to like produce and be truthfully, I've always wanted to be behind the scenes with stuff. Like I always
Mhm.
found like creating, because my real passion is creating like a project. Any project, I'm all in. But if it's like the same thing over and over again, I'm checked out.
Yeah.
So that's how it kind of started, like writing stuff, because I was like, oh, Waylon would be super funny in this, or, this would be hilarious. And sometimes I put Marcel in it, but most of the time it was just like, I was like a war producer hat early on.
Yeah.
And,
And they were
and that's
always
just,
down to
yeah.
help out and be
Oh,
around.
yeah. They thought it was like super fun and super, super, funny. But I think that was like a very big creative outlet for me to be funny and create like content.
Yeah. That's
So,
interesting because, like, I feel like, like you said, like, when the class clown stuff happens, I feel like it almost becomes like a detriment to that person. It's like you take the bullet or you get in trouble as a detriment to, like, create this sort of, like, environment or make people laugh.
yeah.
Or you hear about, like, comedians creating comedy at almost, like, at a dark place, like, they're not themselves, like, may not feel like, I guess, happy or the best, but they love to make other people happy as a byproduct, and they're better at doing so. So it's interesting that, like, that comedy point was one when you were younger, was a place for you to express yourself and kind of be yourself in that environment where you were a little bit unfamiliar, but it became like kind of your segue into like, oh, like I really like this idea of creating things entertaining, not to a detriment to myself, but as a form of expression early on.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that kind of
Cause
what it is now? Sorry.
Yeah. No, no, go ahead. Cause I think at the end of the like my true core, I'm more of just an artist. And everything that I do is just an outlet to express like an artistic expression of something. So it's
Yeah.
not necessarily like it's like, oh, this is an outlet to create something. Cause I even went to school for art, so I majored in art. But everything that I've done was to like was to create something, but was to express something within myself.
Yeah, and
So,
maybe whether that was, like, comedy, acting, modeling,
yeah,
whatever those,
music,
mediums were, they became kinda your outlet to, like, create
yeah,
things and do things and wear those hats in those moments. But that's kinda brought you to this position now where you wanna be more on the production side. You wanna create things and have the, I guess, freedom to, like, not just live in someone else's vision, but kinda
mhm.
create your own things now. What does that look like? What does that process look like, after being in front of the camera for things? Like, does it feel like those situations now better being behind the scenes because you were in it?
I think that there's so many levels to understanding something, but there's so many levels. And I think that even when you're in front of it, there's a level of being passionate about something, and then there's a level of being serious about it. And there's a level of like understanding everything that you want to do, because I don't think it's difficult for me to understand it, because there's a generous, like there's an interest in it to really understand. Like I enjoy producing, I enjoy being in it, I enjoy the whole process of creation. And there's no small fulfillment or big fulfillment. It's all the same for me. Some people like they really want to be in front of the camera, or it feels like something in them for to be vain, or which is fine, which is fine. It can like even when the project is done, it can fulfill you because of the congratulations or
Mm,
whatever it is. But like for me, no matter what it is, whether it's in front, it's behind, it's holding the mic, there's a fulfillment because I'm creating something. So my
okay,
fulfillment is within creating. So it's a little
okay.
different than most people.
Yeah, and your path was a little bit different as well, right? Like,
Night
from
and
what I
day.
understand, you started in a more like a stand-up, a comedy space, and then transitioned into more of the acting side, and I think that's probably what shifted you there. Tell me a little bit about that journey and what that transition was like, or how you started out even in comedy.
Yeah, so I I used to work at a cell phone repair shop called Giant GSM. I used to manage it, and this guy came in, and I guess he was like a big movie star supposedly. Come to find out, he was just a background, like he was an extra in the Gridiron Gang, and his brother was in the NFL. But like but he was telling me about doing stand up and stuff, and I was like, oh, man, I would love to do stand up. I've always been funny. I would love to do that. He's like, yeah, man, I could get you on my shows and all that. He didn't have any shows, but it was just like an open mic. Like looking back, he tricked me. But at that
Yeah,
time when I'm working at a cell phone repair shop, I was like, really? He's like, yeah, man, I
yeah,
could get you on my shows and all this. And I was like, all right, man. So I went to a few open mics, and I remember early on, I would sign up and never get up. I was kind of like nervous. So they call my name and I
Yeah.
just wouldn't get up. It was very hard for me to start going back to that place, but I started and it was just like fun. I don't think I wasn't that good, but I just got such a rush from like challenging it. I was like, man, I got to start
Mhm.
doing this more. Then I started going more and writing for myself and writing for other people because I could understand the language really well. And I think I'm probably even better at helping other people than I am at helping myself because it's such a vulnerable and hard thing to do to like express certain things that are funny to you.
Yeah.
But I started to get it.
And
And then,
comedy's like a gray area, I think. It's hard to like, everyone has a different taste in humor, but also like, what's funny is funny. And I think comedians also walk that gray line of like, you can speak about things that like, nowadays everyone's like really sensitive about certain topics.
yeah.
Comedy's that always been that one area where people could feel like they could speak truthfully, like whatever their truth was. But I think that's why things are funny too, right? Because like at the end of the day, a joke always has some root of truth into
S
it.
Yeah, and a lot of it is like, okay, you're funny to your friends because they know you. So
Mm,
the key to stand-up is making the audience feel like they know you.
mm,
And it's also like attacking from your truth. And then also understanding the language of comedy. Like it's a topic, a premise, an act out. And then within the topic, there's attitude. And then just understanding like the layout, failing a lot. It's a lot of failure in
mm.
stand-up. It's like if you could do stand up, you could do anything because it's hard for people to get up and just say their
Yeah,
name, you know? So I think
yeah.
I think everyone should do stand up or at least should try just because the things that I've learned from just even going on the road doing stand up or helping people write jokes and I've just learned so much. But from stand up that kind of transitioned me into acting.
Okay. What was that transition
Yeah.
like? Was there someone to kinda push you there, or did you yourself take that leap?
Someone pushed me there. So I was doing stand up and someone from the Laugh Factory, they were testing for a show on Stars and I was doing stand up and someone saw me and was like, "Hey, you should audition for the show." So I auditioned, I ended up getting a call back, I ended up testing for the show, but all that happened through stand up. And the network was like, "Hey, if you took acting serious, I didn't get it, but they were like, if you take acting serious, you'll be really good." So 'cause, like, they were asking me about, monologues, and I didn't even know what any of this stuff was. I was just trying to
Right.
do stand-up. Stand-up was, like, my thing that I really wanted to pursue, and who knows what came of it, but that kinda, like, pushed me into acting, which pushed me into producing, so everything I've kinda done is came very organic to me, and also so many things that I've done, I've been able to just take advantage of an opportunity. So
Mm,
most of the time, it's like if I wore so many hats or I did this and did this and did this, it's not like I set out to do these things. What it is like I've just taken advantage of opportunities that presented themselves to me. So it's almost like if you came with an idea and I was like, oh man, we can make this and do this and do this. And the next it's like, that's pretty much how my journey has been. It's just been taking advantage of opportunities. And I've always attacked low hanging fruit. I've never
mhm.
went outside of things that I didn't think that I was good at. But like
Okay.
it yeah, if I knew that I had an interest, whether it's like I have a very big interest for business and entrepreneurship, but like just things that I've had an interest in, I usually attack. I don't just attack
Okay.
anything random. Even if it came to like producing. Yeah.
It was always something that felt like it came as a byproduct of just being at the right place or right time, and then really seizing the opportunity when it did come. But for the acting, you didn't get that initial role, but in that moment were you like, "All right, like, I feel like I got a validation that, like, this is something that, 1, I could be really good at, and 1, I could, like, really work towards becoming good at." After
Mm,
that moment, did it feel like, "All right, like, let me try to see if I can get better at this," or was like, "Let me just see where the next opportunity might lie?"
no, I don't think that I really had that belief system there because, my parents, right? I think my dad really believed in whatever I wanted to do. But my mom wasn't like that. My mom was kind of like, you can't do this and you should get a job and you can't do this. And I think that that kind of affected my belief system within my own abilities to do anything else. And anytime I would come up against like a hardship, I kind of would fall back on that. I'd be like, man, what am I doing? I can't do this. But through a lot of growth looking back, that's the one thing that I wish 'Cause see, you can only go as far as you think you can go. You can only go as far as your belief system allows you. Some people, that's the only difference between certain people that go very, very far and people that don't, is just they believe they can. You know? It's like their
Mhm.
belief system. So I kinda had to rewire my belief system because even when I was testing for a show, I was like, "Oh, I gotta work." I never really thought that I could get that role. I never thought it was reality. I didn't see anyone on TV, or I didn't see anybody doing like, I just never believed that I could do it. I didn't think that I was special like that to do stuff. And on one end, it allowed me to do a lot, but on the other end, like, every time I got to this point, I would kinda be like, "Oh, I can't do this. I don't think I could do this," or
Mm.
"This isn't for me," you know?
Okay.
So, I think I had to, like, kinda overcome that, but even when I tested for the show, like, I was working a night job at the Roosevelt doing security, and I was testing for a show. Looking back now, I'm like, "What?" But my mom was like, Don't leave your job," 'cause I called her to tell her about it, and she was just like, "Don't leave your job." So, I was working, and mind you, I'm working from, like, 10 to 5, and then I'm testing in the morning, so I was already, like, tired. I just never gave myself a fair opportunity or a fair chance, and it could be self-sabotage, it could be, I don't know what it was at the time, but I just still didn't believe that my belief system wasn't there. I wanted it, don't get me wrong, I
Yeah.
wanted to do stuff, but I just don't think I had the belief system in place to be able to do it at that time.
What was the thing that changed that? Like, was it like a slow and steady, like I was really working towards it, or was there kind of a moment where either you were pushed into a corner or a reality check happened where you're like, "I need to something to change for me to," or, was there a specific moment that really sparked that, "Let me just put it all out there and see what happens?"
Yeah, there I've had a few moments. I've had a few life moments. There are many moments that have happened. So there are multiple moments that have happened. But some of the ones that always kind of like really stood out to me is one of my friends who's a producer. He was friends with this guy that was an actor, and he was working at Home Depot, worked there for a long time. And out of nowhere, the guy just like blew up, just like blew up. It was like a big time actor. And he told me, he was like, I asked him, I said, "Hey man, what happened? Like, how'd you go from, like, you were always at Home Depot?" And he was like, "I literally just realized, like, either I have to bend or the universe is gonna bend, but something has to bend." And like something just snapped where I just made the change where I just said, I'm gonna stop wanting to be an actor, but I'm gonna be an actor. He's like, so I changed like all my clothes, I dressed like an actor, I went to classes. I started, hitting people up, but like I just something just snapped. That was a moment when that was told to me. That was a moment where everything changed. I had a coach. I told him that I wanted to be an actor, and he was like, "Well, like, how many people are you emailing every day? How many coffees are you having? How many like classes are you in? And who?" And I was just like, and he was like, "Well, how do you expect it to happen if you're not doing any of these things? You're not doing any of these things, but you want to be." You know how many like, and then he told me like his journey about how he wanted, when he was a coach, he would just show up to these like gyms, and then he just volunteered at some of the schools, and like it was just a different hunger level to where he was like, if you're not doing any of these things, how do you expect to accomplish your goal? That was
Yeah.
something that changed my life. My dad gave me a quote that changed my life once where I was like, I got to get lucky. And he put it in basketball terms where he was like, if you make a half court shot, is it luck? And I was like, maybe. He was like, what about a layup? And I was like, no. He's like, so, okay, where does luck end and where does luck begin? And I was like, I never thought of that. He's like, well, the thing is it's not luck because you're trying to do it, but the further you are away from the basket, the less likely your percentage is of making the shot. So the key is to put yourself in a position where you have a high percentage of obtaining your goal. And that
Wow.
always stuck with me. So it's like, okay, put myself, because see, we could fight hard work. There's hard work, there's talent, and then there's positioning. And see, a
Mm.
lot of us forget positioning is more important than any of it. Cause you can have a
Yeah.
great jump shot, but if you shoot in half court shots, it's like, you might make one or two. You can have a
That's so
horrible jump
true.
shot, you know?
But that's so
Yeah,
true
so
because I think that's not just like, I mean, he used basketball terms beautifully, but I think that transgresses not just in acting, but like in business and whatever you're doing. Like, for example, in the startup space, a lot of the times these businesses when my father explained it to me, he was saying, "Look, like a portion of this is going to be timing. Like you may have a brilliant invention, but the world may not be ready for it yet. Another portion could be, the amount of effort that it takes to build something great. And then there's a portion of luck of like you may just have the right thing at the right time for the right people to see it, and that's the difference." And
Yep.
he's so right about that idea of positioning is like we do forget about that. Oftentimes I think as human beings we lean towards like if we're driven in any sort of a way like to the hard work side, or we're driven in the way like talent tends to bring these opportunities forward, how often do we think about the positioning or the all the little things in between that we have to reorient to give ourselves the
Mhm.
best chance despite like you can be the hardest worker in the room, but
Yep.
if you're not in the right room, then it doesn't really matter. So
Yep.
that's so profound. That's such a good way to put
Yeah.
it in a basketball way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that it sounds like because of these, 3 identifiable moments that you were like, "I'm gonna really change and reorient my life to get this goal." So what was that first milestone for you where it was like, like, "I can do this." Like, this was the win I needed to, like, really feel good about this, or was that a continuous process?
Okay, so I never base like my worth off of my accomplishments.
Mm,
So I never base like something external can't affect something internal. So I really tried to build like internally. I've always kind of been like this, but I've always been like, okay, nothing you can give me or take away from me can change me because I'm allowing you to give me something. I'm allowing you to take something away from me. Right. So I've never so many times we see something at the end, we don't see what got it there. And see, the thing is like you got to get there first before you can get there. They say buildings are built before they're built. You get what I'm saying?
mhm,
It's like
yep,
we're going to come up with a blueprint before I built this building. And a lot of times it's like it's the mental place. So like if you hand me anything, if I'm not mentally there, I'll lose it. You get what I'm saying? So like my whole belief system and everything was like always to build myself up. And even if it doesn't feel good, like I've had friends that came out here to LA to like act and they wouldn't go to certain events because they weren't on the show and they didn't feel like they should. And I'm like, I'll walk the red carpet like I am on the show. I don't I don't care. So, but even if it looks weird, like I've seen success happen because of it. I've seen things where I meet people and I've done things and I've never based my worth off of something external or an opportunity. So it's like, even if you give me an opportunity, it doesn't make me feel better or less than I felt prior. I'm just like, hey, I'm thankful and grateful to have an opportunity and I'm going to make the most of every opportunity. You see what I'm saying?
mm,
So, but I don't think that like, I'm also a very honest person and about like how I feel about myself in situations. So sometimes I'm like, okay, how do I say this for this platform? But for me, I've always just like I've tried to build my runway. Like so many people have these very big airplanes, but these very small runways. So they never really take off, right?
mhm,
And you see it all the time. I see some of the best, most people they kind of fight what should be. There's the way things should be, and then there's the way things are. So it's like I graduated top of my class. I should be here. Or I graduated in film school and I made this. I should be here. And they're your Uber drivers, but they're basing their life off of how things should be. And I think for me, I just kind of started to like lay the foundation for my airplane to take off to where it was like, okay, this is what I'm passionate about. I can only control me and what I'm moving towards. I can't control anyone else. I can't control an opportunity. All I can do is make the most of an opportunity and hope that it brings me more opportunities. But it's never made me feel better, which is it's crazy because everything has its pros and cons. You know what I'm saying? Everyone looks at what you gain. No one's going to look at what you lose. And everything you do,
mhm,
there's no right or wrong way. There's no right or wrong way. That's why I always say, like, if someone asks me advice about something, it's so difficult because it's like, I can only tell you what works for me, but what works for me might not work for you. We might not have the
yeah,
same deck. You know what I'm saying? We might not have the same
yeah,
hand, right? So like the key is to like look at the hand that you have and say, okay, what's the best way to play this hand that I have?
yeah,
What's the best move for me? Because we all have different attributes. But for me, I just realized like, okay, if I get too high, say I do get an opportunity, right? and it makes me feel super excited. Everything is a balancing act. Like every high has the same low. Most people, when they're done working on a project, they get really depressed because that high, right, comes down and then they have to chase it again. It's like the saddest day for the hyena is the day it eats because it knows it has to eat again. So
Mm,
like the thing is like I just say, okay, this is an opportunity. I'm gonna make the most of this opportunity, and then I'm gonna stay even kill because if I did get excited, as soon as that opportunity goes, I'm like, man, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm
right.
doing in my life,
I mean,
you
that's just
know?
how we are as humans.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
we are
in
as
general,
humans.
when we get that positive feeling, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
the second we spike our dopamine levels, like the
Hmm.
second we come back down, it's never come back down to baseline. It always drops below before, and I think we feel that with any sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I love like the idea of process orientation. Like for you, one, you had a really good, strong sense of self where, like, I think a lot of people, whether that's the industry in big cities, wherever they are, I think a lot of people don't have that. They don't have that. And it's not even something that you were like uber confident or uber self, like, believed in yourself at a young age. That's something that you had to work on. But your
Yeah.
sense of identity was never determined by the things that you did, whether that was a really cool project or like a lesser opportunity. Whatever the opportunity was for you, you were humble enough to take it
Yeah.
and not be ashamed about asking for an opportunity or being in the right place. There was never
Yeah.
like an ego associated with that. And another thing was like the process orientation. Like the idea of the runway is like it never mattered, you know, like where you should be. It was always like I'm gonna do everything that I'm supposed to do to put me in the right places. And when
Mm.
those opportunities do come, I'm gonna see it through to the fullest. Like I'm going to give my
Yeah.
all out there, but I'll never let these things determine, you know, my self-worth and belief. And I think
Yeah.
that's you know, part of the reason probably why you're so successful, I think, is because it's never determined by the opportunities themselves, but always the process that, you know, getting there, executing, and then being ready for the next thing to come on the table.
Yeah.
And it was never expected. I feel like the things that you worked for, it always felt like you worked for them, but it was never
Mhm.
something that was just handed to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's so transgressial to, like, I don't even know if that's a word, transgressial, but that's so
Is
transferable to every single space because,
yeah.
I mean, especially when I feel like I'm around my generation, a lot of these days is social media, comparison, and
Mhm.
always looking over to, you know, what someone else is. And I'm in my 20s right now, and I feel like this is the like one stage of life, if not all stages of life, where you can't compare at all. Like there's gonna be so many
Mm.
people doing so many different things. The second, you know, like you said, everyone has a different deck of cards. Everyone has different factors that determine them. You have to focus on you and yourself. Otherwise, you may, you know, really see the shiny stuff that people create at the end of the day, but you don't see all the things that come into it or the sacrifices that were made. And, you know,
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times, if you had to live those cards, those factors, like I don't know if we feel the same about wanting those things.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And I mean, I talked to you about this last year, and one of the most
Yeah.
impactful conversations that I had was I asked you, like, when you're an actor, like, does it ever feel like you compromise that sense of self or identity to like become someone else? But when the way you answered that question to me was, you know, I have a really strong sense of who I am. And it
Yeah.
never felt like I lost that acting and things, doing things. But it'd be helpful, I think, just for you to explain that a little bit more. When you're doing these types of acting roles, like you have to, you know, characterize someone and you know essentially be an artist in the sense that how you play someone. What's that thought process like for you, and how does that, you know, is there a switch that you make, a hat that you wear that like kind of puts you in that mode to do those things?
Man, you know, it's layered and there's layered answers too because there is a switch, but it's like there's okay, it's like if you run every day, right? And I'm like, man, I go running with you, and I'm like, oh man, I can't. This guy's crazy. Sam is crazy, you know. But it's just because like you constantly do it. So a lot of things that like when I talk to like my brothers or friends, and if they were to say like, hey Norman, you're really good at this or this or this, but the reality of it is it's just because I practice it so much. So I do it. There's things that I do, like I have regiments in place to where I can be consistent, right? Because I've been in places in my life where I noticed that like, man, I'm losing because I can't be consistent. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm losing because I can't be consistent in this area. Now it's cool to fall off. We're all gonna fall. You know, we're all gonna like you have good days, you have bad days, you have days where you're down. but like I really audit myself so that way I can be consistent in good days because I have to show up. You see what I'm saying? And I
Mm,
think even when it comes to like acting or when it comes to anything, what I've learned is I've learned how to be consistent and I learned how to have regiments in place to be consistent to where I can do certain things. So like if I get a role, I say, okay, I'm going to look at the scene objective. I'm going to look at the character objective. I'm going to know what he wants, what he doesn't want, and I'm going to do my best to it's a service. It's a service. You see what I'm saying? It's a service. Some of these jobs we look at it like it's us, but it's like I'm providing a service. And I want to do the best job I can and I'm just providing a service. If you needed me to clean your house, that's the same as if you wanted me to act. This is a service job. This isn't like I'm creating my own. I'm telling you how to design your house. I'm like, hey, these are some ideas, but hey, at the end of the day, this is your project, and I'm gonna do the best
mm,
job to bring this character to life. But it's just it's so layered. There's so many layers to everything because there's a surface layer and then it gets deep and deep and deep. Not everyone can handle it deep, but like I think I'm just comfortable with being me regardless of how it's perceived. But I think once you hit your truth, it makes everybody else around them hit their truth. You see what I'm saying?
mm,
That's why, like, even in like a discussion, if you were to be like, yo, this hurts me, this bothers me, this is how I feel, or if you were to address something, it's like, okay, even addressing something, right? If you were to address something, you're not looked at as crazy. If you were to be like, hey, Norm, when I go out, I get social anxiety and I don't know, I might look like I don't talk, I'm having a good time, I just don't know. You address it, now it's not crazy anymore. Now I'm like, oh, Sam, that's him. He's addressed it. But if we just go out, I'm like, yo, what's wrong? You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
being able to address something and then also realizing that like a lot of things that we are or that we see are the results of things that we do. And sometimes we're upset at the results of the actions that we either have taken or didn't take, right? So it's
mm,
like if you're in shape, that is the result of something that you've done. If you're out of shape, that is the result of something that you've done. And so many times we're mad at the results of like our actions. We're not really mad at what we're doing, but we're mad at the results. So for
mm,
me, I say, okay, these are the things that I have to do if I want certain results from my life as
yeah.
well. You see what I'm saying? It's
And
like,
it might not be
yeah,
methodological as the same as like, something like lifting is like a science, right? Like, working out is a big part of your life. With working out, it's like pretty straightforward. You do the
yeah,
right lifts, you do it consistently, you eat the right things, the
yeah,
results come. Like it's like there's
yeah,
no real crazy science or like behind it. But with, things that are a little bit more abstract, the idea is the same thing, but we don't always look at it like that because it's not the same straight up science.
yeah,
Like it may take a little bit of intricacy figuring out the right workout or the right training method, the
yeah,
right schedule, the right things to eat, quote unquote. Like all those things are so much more nuanced that like the process is the same. Like the idea is the same. If you do the
yeah,
right things and you do them consistently, the results come as a byproduct of that. But the method is a little bit more like the line is a little bit blurry. Like I always take job apps as something similar to that
yeah,
because when you're doing the job applications, it's like all of them are for the most part misses. Like in this day and
yeah,
age, like most of them are misses, but it takes one to really hit and get the job. But the idea is like it's not like you were doing something wrong that whole time. It's like that exact process is what led to the yes too, but it's
uh-huh,
not like a plus B equals C. It's like there's
right.
so many other nuances and factors, but the idea is the same. It's like you're
Yeah,
process oriented.
yeah, yeah, very much so, very much so. But it's pretty cool to talk to you about this stuff because there's so many layers to so much, and so many layers are important. Certain things are important that you don't think are important, and certain things that you think are the most important aren't that important. And I think life is it's like it's a game, you know. You win when you know more, you lose when you don't know enough. And like anything, it's like understanding, like, okay, this is how this works. And then sometimes the same things to get someplace, it takes something totally different to stay there. You know, the same thing that gets
Mm,
you attraction, it's different than staying in relationships. The same thing that got you, your girlfriend or whatever. Like there's it's something. It takes something different to stay there. and
Yeah.
understanding that too. Even when it comes to success, like some people I know can reach success. Some people I know can't keep it. Some people I know can keep it, but they can never reach it. So like
Mhm.
realizing like there's so many levels and complexity. It's really like it's simple yet complex. It's one of those
Yeah.
things where it's like, but I think but that's why I say understanding you is the best thing anyone could do. Even in anything, like if I say, okay, if I want a good relationship, most of the time, whenever like if whenever I was dating this girl, she hurt me, it's because I gave her like I put more in her than I put into me. Which and sometimes we think sounds selfish, but it's like if you take care of you, everything else falls into place. If you put yourself in the best position, everything else falls into place. Most people that are in the positions that they are in that we admire, they really took care of them because you can't take care of someone else if you don't take care of you. You
Yeah.
can't, like, and I think I learned early on where I was like, okay, I have to put myself in the best position because that's how I can help in anyone around me if I wanted to help. And I
Yeah.
think so many times we have like sometimes like I love helping people with a passion. That's like my biggest thing. I love helping people, but like, mistakes that I've made is I've tried to help too early when I couldn't fully help, or I've
Mhm.
tried to do certain things that I couldn't really fulfill. And I was only able to really help people when I started to really help myself. When I looked at myself like I look at someone else. You see what I'm saying? Because it's like sometimes it's easier for me to help someone else than to help myself. So what I had to do, the trick that I had to do is I had to say, okay, Norman, help yourself like you're not you. You know what I'm
Treat
saying?
yourself like you're
Yeah.
somebody that you care about.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Even in, anything it says love your neighbors, you love yourself. So it's like I really had to love myself and put myself in a position. And then when I was able to do that, then I was able to help so many more people, right? And then I was able to like really understand my power cuz even being humble, right? Like being humble, you can only be humble when you know your power. Because if you don't know your power, you're not being humble, you're being scared. You get what I'm saying? So it's like once you know what you can do, then you can be humble. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I
Yeah.
know what I could do, so I could really be humble because deep down, I know what I could do, you know?
Yeah.
But like, you can only be humble once you really know what you can do. So
Yeah.
I think I've taken time to be like, and there's times where in acting that I think that's happened to me where I've worked with people and I was like, man, like I'm really good at this. Or, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And that's happened to me. That's happened to me not too long ago where I was like, man, like I'm confident in my choices. Like I'm really good. I make good choices. I make good decisions. And I think like growing up, like that's something that I had to break because like my mom would get mad at me sometimes. And it's not like I love my mom, so it's not like I'm bashing her, but my mom would be like, why'd you do
Mhm.
this? Well, you should have did this and we did it, this and that. But like nothing would ever make sense. I was like, wait, this doesn't make no sense. Like you asked me to take this out and the trash over here, but like she couldn't explain. So what happens is you grow up and you're like, man, am I making the right decisions? Did I do the right? Because like you never explained to me, well, boy, why you take the trash out? Well, you should have watched it. This and that. I thought you said like I'm thinking like you're not explaining to me anything. So now when you grow up, you're questioning like decisions. You're like, man, did I make the right decision? Like, was I supposed to do that? Man, am I supposed to do this? So like there was a lot of things that I think that just paying attention to me that I had to break in order to be able to move forward in the journey that I'm on.
Yeah.
And sometimes we
And
gotta do that.
that's beautiful because I think like that same idea of I think confidence comes from doing what you say you're gonna do and doing it over and over again. Like when I was younger and I was playing basketball, like a lot of the confidence, quote unquote, that I had was ego. It was more of like believing and faking it till I make it to believe that I could play in whatever court against anybody. It was slightly delusional to a certain extent. And I think some of that may be necessary at certain points, but when I'm confident now in things, it's always because, this is something I've done time and time and time again. And I wish
Mhm.
I knew that when I was like, like playing at the time because the people that I really played that were like that, when they used to talk in the game or they used to, start playing really well, is because they really believed in that. For me, it was
Yeah.
always just I I b it was almost like a false sense of ego,
Uh,
but now it's like it's so much easier for that person to turn that switch on because they know that they
yeah.
can do what they need to do as opposed to like, faking it. But I think that's takes that idea of understanding yourself to break that self like it's a lot of ego to break down and be humble enough to be like,
Yeah.
I'm not exactly where I am or where
Yeah.
I should be. but if I work on this and I get to a certain point and you look backwards, it's a lot easier to be humble in those situations because you're so right. Like a lot of the times, like being humble in a scenario, a lot of people aren't actually being humble. They're scared to speak up for themselves, or scared to
Yeah,
speak their truth, or scared
yeah,
to say that this thing
uh-huh.
is because they can't. Like so
Yeah.
they hide it under the guise of being humble, but it's like that idea of it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. Yeah, and it's like that's like life. It's like this life that we play. Is it like even knowing the truth and seeing the truth? You don't always have to like. I realize it's like I've been in creative meetings where the person that's running it is not like is wrong about so much, but they're paying everybody, so you just gotta be like, yeah, all right, cool. Like we're in this life, and we're all trying to survive and prolong it. Survival is the number one thing instinct. We're all,
Mhm.
most of the time, like that's like, if someone's paying you, you're not gonna just say like, hey, this is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Because so
Right.
there's ways to do it. There's ways to go about it, but it is one of those things where it's like it. Some things are easier said than done, and it just comes from like it's positioning. A lot of it is positioning.
Mm.
Like think about it. More people in the mafia have died for knowing too much. You see what I'm saying? Like you
Mhm.
can know too much. Like positioning. The key is just to put yourself in a position to where you can do certain things. And I think a lot of times, like even being a creative, even some of the struggles that like people that want to do their own thing face is putting themselves in a position to where they can do what they want to do.
Right.
Because even if you like what your dad said, even if you have like an amazing idea, amazing thing, if you're not in that position, someone can steal it from you because you're not in the position to really execute it. Or if you're, like
Mhm.
a lot of it is positioning is so important, you know.
That shifts me to the kinda next phase of questions that I wanna to ask you is, now that you are in a better place to position yourself and create your own works, to have a little bit more freedom to know, like, this is something I'm really good at, I've done this for a while. What is kind of the why behind the work that you're doing now these days? Because 'Cause I'm sure that the why back then was a lot different than the why these days. Aside from the creation aspect, the artistry, what's the why that keeps you going these days?
It's a good question because I feel like subconsciously my why could have been filled with like the yearn to feel like important, like deep down, like subconsciously certain things that I've done, I felt like have just kind of like dissected myself. It was like, oh, you might have done this to feel important in a way. And I think now my why has changed so much to where it's like I really love helping people. I love giving back, and I realize like the thing that's so difficult is like what's meant for you are certain things that you have. Not everybody can go where you can go, and not everybody is going to understand what you understand. Not everybody is going to get it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And just realizing like, hey, like I'm at an interesting place in life right now because I'm at a place where it's like I love creating no matter what it is, whether it's entertainment, whether it's like certain business ventures that I have. Like I love creating, but I don't think that came from anywhere. I think that's just being true to like myself and what I enjoy doing. But I've always noticed that like success has always came to me from doing things that I really enjoy doing and I'm passionate about, but I know how to go about them. And I think that the only difference between me now and before is like, the lessons and the mistakes I've made. I've learned how to like not make those same mistakes.
Mm.
So see, because I've never really done it for something like external. Like my goal has never been to be like, oh, well, I was on TV or I was on like my thing has been like, oh, this is fun. Like I
Mm.
enjoy doing this. And I think some of the people that I've seen that like I really like basketball. Do I think I loved basketball? No, no. I love the big games. I've loved the performance of it, but I didn't love it like like my practice wasn't like a game, but I've seen other people that did and they reached levels. And it's like Kevin Durant when he's like, yo, I just wanted to play basketball. Like I don't like interviewing and I don't like this is because see some things that we love, we sometimes don't like all this stuff. Like I've never really enjoyed like going to like a red carpet and I like it, but it's not something I'm looking forward to. I've been around people that like, man, that's all they look forward to. Like in the beginning of the movie is going to the carpet and doing this. I've always just loved creating a project. I love
Mhm.
creating. And I think that my why has always been like creating. Like I know
Yeah.
why, but I also know how, but like I have a genuine curiosity for what I'm doing. And I think that that's the interesting thing about like me and what I do is like I'm just being true to me. And I
And
think
those are the
if
types of
yeah,
projects those are the projects that nowadays that you're really gravitating towards is things that you love, things that spark that same level of
correct,
creativity, and now it's a little bit more in your control. Now it's like you can be a little bit more picky about choosing the things and
correct.
opportunities that spark you and that make you feel like this is the same curiosity and fun that I've always loved about this.
Or how I can make an impact, something that can make an impact on the world, something that is inspirational or something that is impactful. Like I love doing projects that are impactful. How that looks, it depends on who's impacted, but it's like those are things. But like I said, I've always done like if we were sitting here talking about me being an accountant, there would be like a lot it's hard for me, going to work is
Mhm.
difficult. This is because that's not something that's in my wheelhouse, and it's not something that has been someone that like drawing comes naturally to me, being funny comes naturally to me. But then what doesn't come natural to me that I had to learn is like what makes me funny, what do people think is funny about me, what makes me different, like those, or how to go about some of the things that I want. It's like, yo, I want this, but like my challenge has been like, okay, well, let's figure out how to get what you want. Let's figure
Yeah.
out how to what route to take to get to what you want. But the
Yeah.
want has always been there. The why has always been there. The passion has always been there because like that's truly what like how I was made. But
Mhm.
if I was to go outside of that, it would be more difficult. But like I always say it all the time, like everything's easy. It's just easy not to do something, you know?
Mhm.
Everything, but just kind of trying to figure out like how to do things has always been my thing. But my whys and like my wants, they've been very clear. I think the things that I've only struggled with or took time to understand was like how to get the things that I wanted,
Yeah.
and then also like believing that I can have it. And if I could say anything, it's just like you can have it. If you believe you can do it, you can do it. You just have to put thought into like how to do it.
Yeah, and
How to do it
reorient
because
your life.
yeah, yeah,
Like, I think that's the main advice that I've always gotten from people too is like, the universe operates in a way where you can have the things that you want within reason, but you have to make all the sacrifices and, maybe do the things that you haven't done before to get the things that you haven't had before. But you can have that, and but I've said this in the last in a adjacent podcast. It's like it might be on a different timeline too. Sometimes we want the things that we want, in like within a year or within this time that I put in the work. But if it's something that you truly want, that might take 20 years, 15 years, 10 years to like really build and develop too.
yeah,
But I think that kind of sums up that why question really well. What do you want people to remember when they think of Norman Towns? Like when people hear your name, what do you want that impact to be? How do you want people to remember you?
man, if they don't remember me, it's okay. Don't play. Who said that? Who said something like that? Like, did Mike Tyson say something like that? Like, that's all ego. Like, who cares that they
Yeah,
remember you? They gonna
yeah.
forget you all. Man. All the stuff we've done, they're gonna forget. They're gonna move on. Life is like, it's gonna just keep going. But,
Yeah.
nah, and I think we all want to leave a footprint on this world in some way or another. And if all I'm remembered for, this is what I do know. If all I'm remembered for is being an actor, comedian, a producer, then I didn't do what I was supposed to do. That's how I honestly feel. I feel like if all remember me for is like an actor, then there's so much that I want to do in this world as far as like outside of like accomplishments that I've done. There's so much that I want to do, but if all I'm remembered for is being an actor, then I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And I've always like I want to be remembered for changing lives, inspiring people, giving hope. But also, yeah, I always just wanted to make a difference. And whether it's a big difference or it's a small difference, like just and there's a lot of people that have done some great things that have never got credit for it. There's some people that got credit for stuff, big things, and they really didn't do anything. So it's like for me, it's just like if I could just make it, if I could just make the most of my talents and just make a difference in any way, like I'm happy. I'm happy
Yeah.
because it's like I'm not gonna be here. This life is such a short ride, like we're not here for forever. And one thing that like I've always like enjoyed was every bit of my journey, every bit of it. Cause I've had people be like, man, was it tough being a struggling actor and all that? And I was like, and this is what I want you to take away from it too, is like being very honest, no matter how it makes somebody feel. We have to be very honest, no matter how it makes someone feel, because it's like I never struggled. Like, sure, I didn't have enough money, but like, I've always done what I enjoyed doing. So it wasn't a struggle and I was always present. So even if I didn't have any money, like I've always enjoyed every moment of this journey because I
Yeah.
never looked farther. Like I wasn't like, man, is this like I never looked ahead. I never looked back, but I was just present in where I was at. But like we got to start being honest with like who we are and how we feel because that's my truth. Like I think I was told you this like a while ago where it was like, man, it must be tough acting, man. It's gotta be, and it's like that's not my reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, sorry if that's your reality, if it's tough, if you tried to act and it didn't work out. I
Mhm.
feel you, but like for me, that wasn't my reality. It was because I wasn't chasing something big or small. Some people are like, man, are you just waiting to get the big role? I've never been waiting to get the big role. And it's like,
Yeah.
what? And it's like, because like I've also like I had a season where I tried to make people feel good and be like, yeah, man, it's tough. And yeah, man. And the next I look up and it's tough. And I'm like, what the heck happened? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm projecting that
Yeah.
over my life. I'm like, yeah, man, comedy is tough. And the next I'm like, on stage, I don't know. I'm like, what is it? Because I spoke that over my life. I've allowed somebody else's insecurities and questions to affect me because sometimes our insecurities and questions don't even like it could be our parents, it could be our friends, it could be someone else like,
Mhm.
man, what are you gonna wear? You don't know. And the next I don't know what I want to wear. And you could just go down this spiral. So I think
Yeah.
like just really practice being true, sticking to your truth, no matter how it makes someone feel. And it's not about making someone feel bad or feel good, but it's just like, hey, that's just not my reality. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like this is my reality, good or bad. This is my truth. Like I've
Yeah.
always done stuff that I've enjoyed doing. If I didn't enjoy doing it, I wouldn't do it. For real.
Well,
Like, yeah.
I'll tell you this for sure from every interaction that I've had with you, I've always walked away from it, one, laughing my ass off, but also really being like in my thoughts thinking about, the things that you say, how you say them and the analogy. But when you step into a room, you make people feel good. And I hope
Appreciate
you
you.
walk away with that because even in the short time that I've known you and the moments that we have, everyone in the room can feel that positivity and that energy. And, your laugh is contagious. I think a lot of
Yeah,
the reason of why you're funny is because if no one else laughs at your joke, you're going to laugh at your own joke. That's just contagious. And I think that energy is how I remember you by. And I think the reason that you are able to do the things that you do and be successful at it is because you stay true to yourself, and that's inspiring. So, I know that you have more impact to do, more things to do, but I know that also you have philanthropy in the background. You help a lot of charitable organizations. You may be humble enough to not to say it out loud, but I have to give you your flowers there. Like the impact that that I hope that you're hoping to make. Like I think you've done a lot of that already. It just may not be as visible to you just yet. So that's one of the big reasons I wanted you on the podcast. Like despite the creative nature of your work and what you do, like you're a good human being, and everything that I've
Appreciate
seen
you.
you do is inspiring.
Thank you.
It means a lot to have you on the pod,
Man, it means a lot to
and
be here. You're organized, man. You're organized, you're serious. You sent me the deck. I was like, wow, okay.
so really appreciate you being on board. I know people will look forward to this episode. Is there anything you want to shout out to have people tune into? I'll leave your social media and all the things that you've worked on kind of in the description for people to click onto. But is there anything you want people to be on the lookout for, whether that's charity work, things that you're making, creating, being on the lookout for upcoming things?
Yeah, so I'm in a film called Clica that's coming out in 2026 here in January. That's something that I'm really excited about. Some other projects I'm in development, and it's pretty cool because like anytime I do interviews or we talk about stuff, I always like, there's so many people that I've met in this journey that really base their worth off of their accomplishments. And I always told myself, like, like a lot of interviews, they always like, it's good because you want to shout out the things that you're doing or the projects or, and I've always loved to just like, I don't know if it makes people angry, but sometimes I'll just talk without like talking about anything that I've done or ever done. Because like
Yeah.
there's so many people that base who they are off of what like their trophies are so much of who they are. And then
Mhm.
and then it stops. They can tell you about every project they're doing, but then you start asking them about who they are, and it's like there's no, it's like, oh, so, that movie you did or that thing you did, that's who you are,
Yeah.
but that's just something that you've done. It's like if you built houses, like, and I've always been curious into like who people are and like what makes them tick or how they got to like how you are. Like, I'm just curious into like, how'd you get to where you are? Because that is what led to those accomplishments. Because see,
Yeah.
you couldn't get those things. See, you don't just land on top of a mountain, like you can't
Mm-mm.
just like, no one just gives you anything. So like what behind it, what behind like who you are has led you to achieve these accomplishments, So I always
Mhm.
like, every time I'm doing a project, I'm like, hey, yeah, I did this, I did it, but like, this is what I like to talk about,
Yeah.
So, but it's really cool. But yeah, I always have like, I'm always doing something. I'm always doing something. I'm always creating, and I'm just really passionate about creating. Like, I might not be
Awesome.
passionate about selling the creation. I might not be but I like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm a baker, baby. I like cooking. I might not be the best at like selling the food and marketing the food, but hey,
Yeah.
like, I have a genuine passion for creating, so.
Yeah. That's awesome. We'll leave it at that. Yeah, everyone, please tune in to this week's episode. I think you guys will all enjoy it. There's so many beautiful gems. But yeah, thank you, Norman, for joining.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime. Give me a call sometime.
Thank you for listening to If I Died Today with your host, Samay Mishra. Every story reminds us that life's meaning isn't found in what we achieve, but in who we become. Join us next time as we explore another journey, another life, and another reason to keep going. New episodes drop soon, so subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if today's conversation moved you, leave us a review or share it with someone who'd appreciate the message.